A Roman City, produced by Bob Bartley Productions.
Governor,
Welcome to
food levels in
Romanicus.
our granaries are
Here
dangerously
we have
low.
a modern-styled insula for middle-class people who had jobs. They often owned shops beneath their houses. Note that the house is built out of brick and stone.
Governor, our city granaries are
We're
now
now
empty.
going to go and have a look at a poorer-style house. More of the peasant-style, plebeian-style houses. This is a shack.
Now there's an idea that will never catch on.
That was Machinima, a resident of
Governor,
this shack village.
our city granaries are now empty.
Soon we shall meet another citizen who lives in a shack-style house, and watch what he does during the day. Here we have Chris
I can hear them in
Dennis,
the theatre.
and here he
Ovid, I
goes
think. Or was it Virgil?
on a wander
Governor,
through the town.
food
He's
levels
going
in
to the
our
Temple of
granaries are
Mars to
dangerously
pray,
low.
a typical pastime of Roman citizens, right by the Colosseum, which we will visit later in our travels. In he goes to have a look at what he can think about today. Before him is the priest and the altar. Now
Odd, isn't it?
we have a goat farm.
Governor,
Quirinius
our
is a
city
goat
granaries
farmer
are now empty.
on his way for a rest in the middle of a hot day in Rome. We may note the paths. We shall be talking about Roman roads later as well, and how important they were in their civilization. There he is, he's going to rest now. Here is the goat farm itself. You will notice there are many goat farms in Rome. It was a good source of food for Roman citizens. Middle-class people would go to a butcher then and buy their meat. Let us move on. There were many other farms in Roman times, including wheat. And we're going to look at the wheat farm now. We'll take a closer look at the fields with a storehouse. Farmers were often wealthy people, farm owners rather, while the people who worked on the farm may have been slaves. And here we are looking at one of the stores. It is an oil press for olive oil. Notice
City
it is
happiness
underneath
is rising.
a small insula or
Sounds like there's
house.
some action in the arena.
Now we'll go and see an olive farm that supplies the olives to this olive press. Note the style of the trees as we get closer, and you can see little green dots in the trees. These are the olives. We have
I
pits
saw a
that are
strange
collected,
huge bird in the
used to
city.
collect olives.
Are dangerously low.
This is called a
Governor,
date farm,
our
another
city
famous
granaries
popular
are now
food
empty.
during Roman
Governor,
times.
people are leaving the city.
Middle-class
We
people
need to
chose
do
dates
something
and
about
used them for all
city
sorts of
happiness.
snacks. They dried well and were able to be kept for some time. Now we're going to move on to entertainment. This is an amphitheatre, a small amphitheatre, where plays and musical shows were often held. Note the fine stonework and the columns that show how important a building it is.
Governor, food levels in...
Now this is a music school, an acting and music school where people went to train. Notice how close it is to the amphitheatre.
I can hear them in the theatre. Ovid, I think. Or was it Virgil?
Meet Publius Dogarigus. He is the actor teacher. Now we move on to the circus, a very popular place for entertainment. Chariot races were held here often.
Governor, food
Nearby
levels
there's
in
a
our
chariot
granaries
school.
are dangerously low.
We're now going to
Governor,
zoom in on
our
one of the
city
chariots
granaries
waiting for a
are now
challenger,
empty.
or perhaps here to practice. Notice the two gates, one for each competitor. It is right by the Colosseum, another area of entertainment. You just missed the end of a fantastic battle between two different types of gladiators. And there is a chariot school with a small ring for training. This here is a chariot maker, which is also close by. And of course, without chariots, without horses, you will not have chariots. Therefore, also nearby is the horse maker, the horse tender, horse trainer perhaps. Fantastic opportunity for many of the Roman people to work here. but there were many people who were unemployed as well, called vagrants. Near the Colosseum we have these sort of services. We have 3 different types of gladiator schools to make for far more interesting gladiator events. And we also have an animal shelter for a lion and an elephant for a variety of spectacles. Entertainment was cruel
Food
in Roman
levels in our
times.
granaries are
Lots of
dangerously low.
slaves and gladiators often
Governor,
died.
our city granaries are now empty.
Now we move on to the politicians of the Roman times in the Senate. People gathered here to make decisions within the Senate. There were 2 sides, and they'd vote on what would happen next. This was during the Republic period of the Roman Empire. During the Empire, the Caesar would make all the decisions. This was a far more unjust way of doing things. In the Senate, people were elected. And this, as we mentioned earlier, is the Temple of Mars. One of the biggest buildings in this Roman city. The Romans often borrowed their gods from the Greek gods. And this is the Roman god of Mars, and he is the god of war.
Listen,
And here is the high
I can
priest
hear them in the theatre.
in the
Ovid, I
altar.
think. Was it
Notice
Virgil?
the beautiful mosaics on the floor with the wonderful altar there. And of course columns with beautiful artwork. Now we're going to move outside of the city to see what belays there. Here are some farms. You'll notice also some insulas and some other shack-style houses. And now you may also notice the city wall with some gates. These are very important for protection. You notice there are only farms and some houses outside the city walls. All the important buildings such as the Senate, the Colosseum and the Temple of Mars are all located within the city's walls for protection and security. There are also granaries. Here we have a fishing
Governor,
dock and a large
food levels in
boatyard.
our granaries are dangerously low. Governor, our city granaries are now empty.
It's a shame that they had to work so hard to keep their granaries full. And as you notice now, the only way to get to this is via the Roman road. It is a very straight road, which is very typical of Roman road design, which was one of the most impressive features of the Roman Empire. And still, you can see Roman roads today in many of their locations that they conquered and lived and spread. It is why the Roman Empire was so strong. Their inventions, their ingenuity, and their abilities to make peace with those that they conquered. And to this very day we have them to thank for many of the features of our living world, such as sewers and other